All right, everyone. Welcome to today's LinkedIn Live. I'm really excited to have Mrinal Bhattacharya with me. I've done many LinkedIn Live before, but this is my first LinkedIn for Thought Leaders show. And I've been seeing Mrinal do such amazing work of sharing content on LinkedIn, really showcasing her thought leadership as that Quora girl. And, so I decided when I kicked off LinkedIn for Thought Leaders show, I decided I'd have Mrinal as my first guest, and also Mrinal is from India, where I'm originally from, and she got into the India's first LinkedIn Creator Accelerator Program, which is amazing. Mrinal has a lot of skills and expertise and experience. So I'm going to have her briefly introduce herself because I think she'll do a better job than me. And if you have any comments, questions, you can add them in. You might be watching this on LinkedIn or Facebook. I'm hoping it's running live on Facebook and also on YouTube. So, Mrinal, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Nyna. I just want to, first of all, congratulate you on your inaugural episode. And trust me when I say this, I actually grew up watching you in terms of my LinkedIn journey because you have done fabulous sessions on LinkedIn Live with so many wonderful, women creators and, women founders and also a lot of women professionals. So thank you so much for being, the guiding light for all of us, women creators on LinkedIn. And you have definitely been the pioneer of it all. So thank you so very much for welcoming me today on this session. Really, really excited for this chat. Also, because there's so much of personal story that I feel that we can share today. And starting with just like a little bit of an introduction of me, I have been a professional for close to 13 years now, and have done my share bit of experimentation. I was in telecom for close to 8 years. I worked with two of the major telecom giants as a sales professional. And then, as I said, I did a lot of experimentation. I was very curious about internet. Just like anybody else, I was searching for, answers to my questions, and I landed up on this beautiful platform called Quora, which is basically a knowledge sharing platform, user generated content platform. And I immediately got very, very hooked, very passionate about the community that thrives in there, and have the spirit of knowledge sharing. And I think it was back in 2016 when I started creating a lot. That was the first time that I also started writing on internet, and that's just purely for fun. I still write for fun a lot, but Quora was the first that I started with. And somewhere in 2018, that passion translated into professional. So I have been now working with Quora since 2018. I worked in multiple roles. I started at Quora as a community manager for their Bengali market, and I moved many different roles. I worked in the creative growth team. I worked in the ComDev team, which is the community development team. And currently I work as a global product support manager for Quora, and I take care of the user support and the ad support team at Quora. So yeah, that has been my professional journey so far.
I love it. That's awesome. And the LinkedIn and as you said, we all grew up being on LinkedIn. Thank you for the compliment that my content inspired you. Today actually makes I joined LinkedIn on November 30th, 2007. So it's I'm trying to calculate. I think it's about 2017 was 10 years. So maybe
Almost, oh yeah, almost like,
15,
kind of
right?
like 15 years. Yes.
Yeah, 15 years. Yeah. And like I know you had shared earlier that you joined LinkedIn initially as a job seeker, and it was,
Oh yeah.
yeah, it was a job search platform, right? And that's what everyone was joining LinkedIn. When I joined in 2007, I worked for an organization where we help immigrant professionals find jobs in the US. It's called Upwardly Global. And so obviously we had to be on LinkedIn, but someone told me about it, like I think one of the job seekers actually was on LinkedIn, and he had 500 connections on LinkedIn. And I was like, wow, we all were like, wow, you have 500 connections. And and he was like, you should join LinkedIn. So we all, I mean, me and some of my colleagues joined LinkedIn, but we just parked our resumes and didn't do much with it. But as you've said, you can create content, you can really showcase your thought leadership. I mean, I know being part of Quora, it's also, you share your personal stories, but you also share work experiences. I've seen that. Uh, but I was also very excited when you had shared that you gotten to the LinkedIn Creator Accelerator Program, because it was India's first launch. And I know it's really hard to get into that program, right? So, and I'm sure people watching this either live or who watch it later will be curious to know like what do you think you did to get selected? Because, and how many, I don't even know how many people applied in India. I didn't apply in the US, but I know it was huge. I know a lot of people applied. So obviously, I'm sure you can't share everything, but whatever you can, because this is all about, how, and each one has their own form of expertise and thought leadership. And I've seen with LinkedIn, the Creator Accelerator Program, that they're selecting people based on a certain expertise of thought leadership, right? So yeah, I know that's a long question, but I think, you can distill it and answer the best way you like.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think first of all, I echo with you joining in 2007 because I also joined in 2009, and probably we'll discuss it much later on. Like, my journey with LinkedIn has been phenomenal so far. Like, it was not just like a job seeking platform, but like it was a huge, huge networking platform for me, especially because I was a sales professional. I did a bunch of like cold calling stints on LinkedIn, and has been like one of my major source of getting clients, and obviously understanding their portfolio and like what they're interested in. But I never thought, like, as I said, that I was just mesmerized with the kind of like content that people started creating on LinkedIn pretty much in like 2021 and 2020. And as I said, I complimented you. I was very closely watching all these amazing women creators, like creating such authentic dialogue on LinkedIn, and I was like, oh my god, am I missing an opportunity? Because I think I have something to add. And somewhere in February, I guess I started writing. I was posting on LinkedIn, but it was like once a blue moon, if I go meet my team, or if I have like got a amazing swag, or if I got a promotion. That's the only time when I was writing on LinkedIn. And I thought that was such a miss, because oh my god, there are so many people who are looking at you, and they're trying to understand who you are, and you're not really sharing it with the world. This goes for people who are trying to employ from talent from LinkedIn. This also applies for people who are looking to get hired. This is also for people who are trying to like get speaker gigs. And I think I was missing out on that opportunity, and that's when I decided that no, I'm going to create. I don't even know whether I was creating a personal brand, but I wanted to create a very authentic, unique voice that is me. And I was very intimidated initially when I was probably 25 when I started creating on LinkedIn. But now at 35, I'm completely fine in my own skin, and I really wanted to like put my maturity and brain out there and say that hey, this is me. And maybe you will learn from my mistakes too. And that's when I started. And talking of the program, I feel immensely privileged and blessed to be part of that program, because being part of that program has been a big game changer for me. I try to understand the industry more closely, especially because I work in a platform where there is obviously too many creators out there. There is also like a lot of user generated content that is happening. There are so many platforms that are doing these things very beautifully, and this was just a very good chance to understand from a creator psychology point of view, like how difficult it is for creators to create content. And this is for the first time that I was obviously experimenting with a lot of audio visual content as well. I was a very text based person. I was very shy. I've never shared my pictures before on social media, even at core. Like I was very timid to like share my pictures outside of maybe my private network. I had everything private. I had my Twitter private. I had my Facebook private. I had my Instagram private. And I started realizing that, when you're not putting your face out there, when you're not putting you're basically not doing justice sometimes, and you really need to make sure that you have some sort of visibility. So two things that worked for me, especially in my application form for the Creator Accelerator program, is that I was like 100% authentic of like, okay, what I'm trying to create. I was not telling them that, hey, I'm gonna share self-help tips, or I'm gonna share women at work tips, but I was giving the example of what I have done so far, why they should be taking me into this program, and what I will be doing. And
What was
basically,
that? Sorry
so
to what was that? Like, what was it that
so,
you said?
so
Yes.
my concept was kind of very unlike LinkedIn. It was basically sort of a AV proposal, which is basically I'm going to create every week. I'm going to create an audio, video kind of content, which will be in Hindi, which is essentially regional language, and I will be talking about lessons that we learned as a child and should be implementing right now. So that
Mm,
was my concept, and it's
right,
called Kagas
right,
Ki Kashti, which is paper boats. And I basically wanted people to just look around and see what it means. The first challenge that I received when I went to the Creator Accelerator program was like, okay, you submitted the concept, but hey, you cannot just create one content a week. You have to create content continuously throughout the
right,
week.
right,
And
right.
that was a bummer. I have a full-time job. How on earth I'm going to do that? So that was my
Right.
major roadblock on day one. But then I got creative around it, and I started storytelling around the video that is going to come out around Thursdays or Fridays every week. But
Right.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, I used to do polls. I used to engage people. I used to like make them guess what the video is going to be about, and
Nice.
get them reeled in and excited about the content. And even though like that was a 10 weeks program and it got wrapped up, I still pretty much get a lot of compliment for that. And maybe sometime, hopefully I'm not I'm just going ahead and manifesting it in this particular live session, I might just do a podcast because I love that format.
Right.
And even though it wasn't exactly a fit on LinkedIn as a professional side, but I think it has so much of relatability and authenticity that I think it would work on any platform that I would put in. So I am planning to like maybe either get a revamp on LinkedIn, or maybe try to experiment with this in a form of a podcast
That's
sometime.
fantastic. Actually, Riddhi Sharma just wrote and said it was Kagas ki Kashti, Kasti.
Yes, कागज की
Kagas
कश्ती.
Kasti
Yes,
was a huge hit. We love the nostalgia, right, Mrinal? So that's fantastic. So you did that for the 10 weeks and you did it in Hindi, like
yes,
yeah,
yes. So the audio was in Hindi, but I did everything in English, so that because I knew that my primary network, and this is something that I really want everybody to understand, that you have to be real sensitive towards your primary network. So over the years, my primary network has always been English speaking,
I
because
see.
hey, I was networking with people who were in telecom, and then I was networking with people who were working in tech, and they were not very familiar with, say, and obviously I had a huge network of community people as well, and I want to make sure that I'm not doing disservice to the community and the network that I already have.
Right,
So
right.
it's trying to make sure that I'm being sensitive, and that's why I made my content really accessible. So even though when I was writing in Hindi, say the whole text Hindi, I made sure that it is compatible enough to have like an English translation. Or even if I was doing a Hindi video, I was making sure there are enough images, or there are enough subtitles that are very easily understandable to people. So
That's
yeah.
fantastic. And I love what you also said about, like you were nervous to show yourself because that's the way I was too. And I think maybe it has something to do with our culture. Maybe things have changed now, but, growing up in India, like, it wasn't said directly, but there's like girls, you have to be seen, not heard. And it's not just women, but even men, right? When you talk too much about yourself, when talk about your achievements, when you share your expertise, it's considered bragging or showing off. Because I've seen sometimes that, and when I moved to the US, I realized I had to make that shift. And it's not about bragging; it's really by putting yourself out there. If you can even inspire or educate one person, you it's worth it. Otherwise, you're doing a disservice to yourself and to others, because we all have unique experiences and skills. Everyone has it, right? Like people feel like, what can I say on LinkedIn? Who am I to say anything? What will people say? Will I be judged? When I did my first LinkedIn live, I think it was maybe a year or many months ago, I was so nervous to do a live, right? Because LinkedIn, again, you think is about, dudes in suits, like all these guys judging us, or all these our colleagues or our previous employers, or it's usually you're more afraid of the people who know you than the people who don't know you. What is Nyna? What is Mrinal doing? Yeah. Binati.
No,
Yeah, sorry, Binati just said people with those mindset are better off our networks. If you got it, flaunt it. I love it. And Riddhi says it's never bragging. So yeah, go ahead, Mrinal.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I wanted to just like share an anecdote, and this is something that is very, very important. I know that, many of us, especially, and I don't want to like put all of us in a box, but I feel like women of color also go through we women in general go through a lot of imposter syndrome.
Right,
But I
right,
think women of color goes through this all the more much because of the cultural differences or the challenges that we just have a tad bit too much of those challenges. And I'm not underestimating the privileges that we also get because of the financial conditions. But in general, women of color have like been perceived as, oh, if we talk too much, we are too bossy, or if we share our opinions, like there is a label that is always associated with us.
right.
And we are very non-receptive of compliments. Like if somebody's complimenting, either we are getting completely flattered by that, we're just not owning it up.
Right.
And I remember I was this very recently. This was an interview between two of the very amazing leading ladies in India. One is an author and a former actress, Twinkle Khanna, and there was another ex Miss Universe and a fabulous actress, Sushmita Sen, and they had this amazing podcast session which was going on, and they were complimenting each other. And Twinkle, as an author, she said, no, I don't want, like, I don't think I am that kind or generous. And Sushmita just interrupted, like, take the compliment. You
Right.
should take the compliment because we deserve the compliment. We should be receptive of it. And
Right.
I think that's one thing that I always feel extremely uncomfortable if somebody says that, hey, you did a good job, you did a stunning job. I just try to like push back and say, oh, I just got lucky, or
Right.
my team did all of it. Would
Right.
just not own it up.
Right.
uh, why we have to underestimate ourselves so much? I don't see men doing that too often. And
Right.
I'm again not boxing all men. I'm just saying in general, the perception, the things that I have seen around. I don't see. I see more women saying that, hey, no, it's a team effort. No, I don't think I have done, and I still do it. I have the awareness and I still do it. And
Right.
I think that's a mindset shift that we all need together to just make sure that we are not repeating ourselves because little girls are watching, and
Right.
we need to set like better examples, I think.
Right. No, it's very true. Accepting compliments is so important. And I think it's also being gracious to the host, right? If, or not host, to the person giving you the compliment, because someone compliments you and then you don't accept it graciously, I think you're also doing a disservice to that person, because
Absolutely.
they're acknowledging something you did. So that's a great point. It's all imposter syndrome. And I think a lot of what we just discussed is why so few people, especially women, show up on LinkedIn. There a lot of people are, or users are lurkers, right? Because we're so afraid of you posting and then no one liking our posts or commenting our posts, or we feel we make a fool of ourselves, or we'll be judged, or if someone does compliment us, then we don't even respond sometimes to those compliments, because I'm sure you've seen that posting and ghosting, right? People post, you compliment them on the post, you add your meaningful comments, sometimes they don't respond, and I wonder, is it imposter syndrome, or are they being rude, or they like just not in the habit of acknowledging? Because so that's really interesting. So I know for many people who work at companies, they're not sure like how much LinkedIn they can use outside of their company, right? And I know there's a big push towards employee advocacy and getting more employees on LinkedIn, because see, I mean, for you are kind of representing Quora, right? You go as that Quora girl. And so it's giving your company so much publicity by you building your personal brand, you're also building the brand of your company. And I feel many companies don't realize the value in encouraging the employees to show up on LinkedIn and showcase their expertise, amplify their voices. So I'm curious, did you need permission from your company? Is this, I mean, how does it work? Because I run my own business, so I'm curious, what you do and what other people can do if they work for a corporate, they have a corporate job. Yeah.
Right. So I think every organization have their own ways of doing, and there's a line that you have to draw, like how you're presenting yourself, and we definitely have guidelines of like how much we can discuss, and unless you are violating any kind of like legal lines, you are good. But at the same time, there's just a lot of discussions around the sensitivity of it. I think people just do not have a transparent dialogues with their managers or with the people team, in terms of like, okay, what is good and what is not good. I think that is extremely important and very very vital for every employee and employer to have that transparent discussion around what is good and what is not good. I for like me as a person, I don't think if tomorrow if Quora have like an objection, I would definitely remove that Quora, like, that Quora girl. But I take so much of pride because it
Right.
wasn't just me being an employee. I have been a Quora girl when I started, because I think the
Right.
kind of confidence that the platform has given me as a writer. When I was working in a telecom company, I was a nobody, and I was writing blindly on internet, thinking, maybe nobody's going to read me ever, or whether I'm even a writer. I never thought like that, and it transformed my life. I got that opportunity from that company, and I have immense respect for my organization. Not that they were the most coolest people that I work with, but they are also they take extreme pride in knowing that I write not just for me, but also for like the platform sometimes. And I have to like tell that I really flex and brag about the organization just
You.
as much as I could, because I know that, and this is not to just like flatter them, but like genuine advocacy for the platform, because they truly are that wonderful. And I think that is extremely important for the organizations to also understand where you want to censor people, and like how much do you want to censor people, and in like what moderation. I think it's a need of the companies to start having those dialogues within employee groups, so that people do not feel afraid of showing up.
Right. Right.
And they should not feel afraid of showing up, because social profiles are now very much part of our identity.
Right.
And it's we're not on LinkedIn any longer to just like look for another job opportunities. We're there to maybe attract more talent to the employers or for the organizations that we work in, because it looks super cool. It's like people having vlogs on YouTube of saying that, hey, day at my company, or like family day at my company, or something of that. So I think those are the fabulous work cultures that could thrive in, that does not intimidate their employees to do something. And I personally feel that I always had like an honest dialogue, that how much is too much with my managers, and that is all that I have done so far, to ensure that I am not in like trouble for anything.
Yeah, I love what you just said. And I just, before I respond, I wanted to read out some of the comments. So Binati said, a few companies are stuck in a time long ago. The world has changed in many ways. I think, and then I go on to Sue's comment, but what you said about, you know, um, like if companies should realize that you're, and Sue also mentioned that you're the brand ambassador, right? I've heard that some companies are afraid to train their employees in using LinkedIn, because they feel once an employee starts showcasing their personal brand, their expertise, their skills, their experience, a headhunter is going to take them from that company. But there's so many pros to it, because it attracts the right talent, and can bring in more clients. Because when you see someone from a company really active on LinkedIn and sharing their personal stories, but also as you do with, you share stories and experiences and photos of your company, and it wants you to makes you want to work at that company, right? So they're getting free advertising. And who better than the employees to share and talk about the company, right? Because people buy from people, and you're humanizing the company. You're really humanizing it by sharing and talking about yourself and your company. Uh, and I think even if the employee does leave at some point, you've invested time in training those employees, that employee will always have an affection, affiliation to your company, might even send people to your company because you gave them that freedom to build their brand, to express themselves. You didn't kind of hold them down. So, and Sue was sharing that Gap. Sue works at Gap Inc. and she said she and her field store employees are really great at posting and sharing photos and experiences, awards, and recognition via LinkedIn. It's broadened her approach and LinkedIn community by doing this as well. And she's a brand ambassador for Gap. Uh, and I noticed, I commented on your post yesterday. Sue had posted how she spent a day at, I think it was Atleta, the company which is part of, at the retail store, which is part of Gap. And she worked, in the store doing stuff. And again, it was, if I was looking for a job, I'd be like, wow, working for a company like
Of
Gap,
course.
because it's giving you this experience to also see another aspect of how the company and the business runs. So, yeah, so it's really important that employers, if there are any employers listening, that they need to start encouraging the employees to show up on LinkedIn. And I think it boosts your
100%.
self-confidence, right? Because like you and I,
Absolutely.
we were afraid to show up on LinkedIn initially. And for me, at least, I would never been on video. LinkedIn gave me that courage to, do videos, do lives, share content, be authentic, as you said, be vulnerable. I've seen some of your posts which are pretty vulnerable on LinkedIn, right? And again, it's not about sharing too much. It's really about people being able to
Absolutely.
empathize and also connect with you because they might have had those experiences. So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. So I would just want to add that, when you're talking to, say, a platform, it's not your Facebook wall, it's not your friends and family, it's your network. You have to have that kind of intelligence to understand, as I said, that there's, what do we call too much information? If you're burning out in your present employers, go and talk to the authorities. And then, like, this is not your rant board. Like, LinkedIn is not a rant board. Like, you can't, like, come here to, like, you can if
you
you want, but,
can.
like, that is not something that I would advocate, like, to do. Like, it's never good to, like, burn bridges with people. It's always good to have a dialogue and have that transparency. And that's when I feel that, it's important to have a manual of sorts for your employees to understand, who probably may not be very experienced, of, like, okay, what are the things that we can discuss and what are the things that you cannot discuss. So there are certain sensitivity that you deal with. Like, my role has a lot of sensitivity. I make sure that, I am not, exposing any sensitive information ever.
Right.
I'm extremely careful around that. And I make sure that, I am also responsible in the way I communicate. Because
Right.
when you are an employee, you are also representing not just yourself, but the
Right.
organization that you're presenting. Even if your thoughts and views belongs to you, and in, like, every single social media channel that is public for me, I do mention that, it's my thoughts, and it's definitely my thought. Like, my company is definitely not endorsing any of it, but at the end of the day, I'm still, like, part of that company. Like, I don't want to, like, come across as somebody who is, who is not good and gregarious in any manner. And that's just, like, that's an extremely important thing that, one has to do. Like, you and this is not just for posting. This also goes for engagement. How you're engaging, it's extremely important to be careful around that, because the way you are engaging, your clients are watching, your network is watching, your future employers probably are watching. So be mindful of how you're talking. So don't talk rude, don't talk foolish, and don't, like, just be civil. I think that's the best way to go about it. Just be civil, have a good quality discussion. And also, like, I think it's also important to understand what is the timing. Like, I have a specific timing for my social media. I make sure that, I'm not all the time there.
Right.
We have, like, all have, like, full-time jobs. You can segregate some time for your social media, but at the same time, you have to make sure that you are doing enough and more responsible work to ensure that, you are never being, like, asked that, hey, are you really cutting out from your responsibilities?
Right. I have you
And
on LinkedIn the whole day, right? Like, oh, are you on LinkedIn the whole day instead of doing your job, right?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And also, like, there are a lot of like situations where people keep approaching you for like commercial things. Ask your legal, ask your team, are you can you really do that? I'm very clear that I don't do that, and I'm very like upfront about it. But at the same time, there are employers who are flexible around those things, people who are freelancers who do that. And you should be open. This is, you're not creating content just to make it like a secondary source of income. You are there to have probably a personal brand, and in the future, if you want to capitalize on that personal brand, you can totally do that. So I think that way it just makes sense, I
But
feel.
and you know what I really liked was you said about maybe employers having a handbook, or and sharing what you can share and what you can't. So that gives the employees more freedom, right? Because they can say, I can talk about all this, but I can't talk about that. Because I'm actually currently training. I do training and workshops and consulting for companies, and I'm currently working with one company. Every month I train the employees in how to use LinkedIn strategically, and I've already seen how the company page, the value and the content has changed. The employees are showcasing their personal brand. And but again, so this is a useful tip, because I'm going to suggest that to them, because we don't have a handbook, but this is a really helpful tip, so
Yeah,
employees feel more comfortable about what to share and what not to. So
I love
I'm
that,
actually, oh,
especially for like interns and people who are coming for like temporary period. I think that requires so less training, and just makes life easier for everyone.
right. So I have two more quick questions. One is, what did you learn? Like, is there anything you can share that you learned in the creator program? I hopefully it's okay to share whatever, because I'm the people who are curious about maybe wanting to join it. And then my second question is, how has it helped you after you've graduated? How has it helped you with LinkedIn moving forward?
So I'll take the first question, like the second question first,
Okay.
because I think I'm just really really happy for the first perk that I got from LinkedIn Creator Accelerator Program is essentially get a bunch of like-minded friends. I think that's the biggest perk, which is super underrated. Nobody talks about it. You will never find that kind of an aspiring bunch of people who talk about creating content with so much of passion. And not just that, they find opportunities for you, they find speaker gigs for you, they find they tell you about newer programs that are coming up, or they just like invite you to this super cool session. So I think I'm immensely blessed that way. There are also people who have a greater empathy, because they know exactly what content burnout means, what feeling that writer block means. So I think just to have that circle, I think that is the biggest perk that I have got from the program. The second, I think, was the visibility. I think it gave me a lot of visibility, and also an understanding of how how platforms are probably working. So for me personally, I think I'm very interested in product and learning how like product evolves. And I think it was a great learning experience from me, from like a community and a product point of view, because those are the professional attributes that I could like seek from the program. And that's just me. So those are my biggest, I think, perks from like joining the program. But having said that, during the Creator Accelerator Program, I think most of the things, there were coaching sessions that has happened with the mentors that were on the sessions, and I think each other mentor brings in very diverse value to the table. So it's amazing to have those kind of discussions, and these are not pre-recorded videos. You're actually having those one-on-one sessions with them, and these are like the biggest stalwarts of the industry who are actually coaching you. So I think that was a really cool perk. But more than that, I think the one thing that I picked up, I was really bad in editing, and I didn't know how to maybe shot a video or like even hold my camera right. And I think those kind of learning sessions were really really cool. Also, I feel that just in general, when you're learning, it's like a class, like it's a graduation class. They actually call it a graduation class. And I think it actually behaves like a class because we have assignments and we have work and we have to do like every week. And there was a lot of accountability. So I think the, going back to the second question's answer, I think the biggest thing that you can get out of, and I can bet that everybody who is probably have applied for a lead cap program, they can say that without a doubt that it's the batch that keeps, most of the people will say that this is the batch that like they keep them going. And I really thought that just like any other program, this will just wear out and we will not have this kind of connection. There will be a ghost land after a while. But it didn't become a ghost land. People still meeting, people still buzzing. We still have so many friends to like hang out with and talk to and like let them know that hey, I'm facing this, and I'm facing this personal situation in my life, and can you help me with that? And I think that was the power of very close networking, because there were 200 people in that batch, and I think close to 100 people are still somebody who I'm like very closely associated with. It's not, you will never get 100% of everybody to be always active, but I think that was one of the things. But the tools that we got, the resources that we got, I think they definitely set us for success to an extent. But it is primarily the people who have, I think, if anybody wants to join this, make sure that you're unique, and make sure that you are ready and you have the time and the resource. And even if you don't have the time and the resources to pull this through, you will manage it. Because I mean, if I could manage it with like my full-time job and like a lot of responsibility, I think you can manage it. You just have to. And now we have a lot of like accessibility to the scheduler and things like that, and I think that will be a game changer for the next batches that will come. So yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. So I want to end with maybe one tip, applicable tip that you can share for people who are on LinkedIn, something that's worked for you, something to help people showcase, because this is the LinkedIn for Thought Leaders show for people who have expertise or experience in one specific area and want to use LinkedIn to showcase it. And also, if anyone has any questions from people who are watching, thank you for joining us. You could post them in the comments, and Mrinal could either answer them now, but it's really late in India, or she can, I'm sure we'll check in tomorrow because the comments will be there. I believe you can only see them on your phone because it's kind of hard to find them on the event page under LinkedIn Live. So Mrinal, so any tip, app, something that people watching this can put into practice after on LinkedIn after we're done?
I think, I had been thinking about it a lot, like lately, especially when you start, it's very hard to boil down. If you already have niche, start thinking about what are the ways that I became an expert in that particular topic. What were the things that I was looking for when I was getting into, because you were not expert on day one.
Right.
So start creating that content. That's your content pool for at least a month. And after that, start experimenting and, understand that you're not just here to teach people, you're also here to be human. So try to like sometime, lift your guards up and make sure that, you are being a little bit authentic and vulnerable. And when I say little bit, is because I know that not everybody can be 100% authentic and real. It's extremely hard. It's a judgmental world. But try to put yourself out there, and don't get back down with criticism, because that happens everywhere, irrespective of how fabulous you're doing a job on your content and at your workplace or personally, you will always get criticism. So just take the constructive part of the criticism and leave the rest of it for the world to just like perish it on its own. So my tip would be, just like start with the thing that made you an expert, if you have the topic. And if you're not able to narrow it down that what you want to talk about, just start posting from day one and start trying to understand who these people are that I'm trying to talk to, and what they really want from me. Like I really thought that I am somebody who's a community professional. For the longest time I was just writing about community, and then I started realizing, oh, there are things that are making or resonating with women at workplace, and then maybe I want to write about that. And then I started experimenting with a lot of things, and now I basically come show up every day and let the day inspire me to write something. And I wouldn't say that, it's a good strategy, because sometimes it's very difficult to not have a niche. And where you will, if you are in a long term game at LinkedIn, have a niche. If you don't have a long term game and you are here for fun, you can definitely follow me where I am just, doing all and sundry things. So yeah.
But you still have a niche. You still, you're still putting, I guess for you, your expertise is putting yourself out there and sharing who you are, right? That's the sense I got from reading your post. It's almost like a day in the life of, and it helped you get into the creator program. So, it's hard. I know it's hard for everyone to get that clarity initially on what your expertise is. When, 2 years ago, I didn't even think I would one day be teaching people how to use LinkedIn, like training professionals, right? I was just, because of the pandemic, I was just putting myself out on LinkedIn more and sharing my story. And then it got clearer and clearer. And I found my zone of genius, which is empowering women to find their thought leadership and then helping them use LinkedIn to showcase it. So it's that you have a job that you love, which is at Quora, product. So maybe LinkedIn for you is helping you, what's the word, build the part of, or show the part of Mrinal that people might not see at Quora. Right, so that's interesting too. So I love what you shared. I mean, you can have a strategy, or you can use LinkedIn to inspire others. I think you inspire a lot of women with the stories you share. Not just women, but yeah. So I just wanted to shout out to Diane, who said, great discussions and congratulations, Nyna, for launching your inaugural LinkedIn Thought Leader Show. You're inspiring us all to do it and be a leader. Thank you. Thanks, Diane. And thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dominica, for joining us as well, and everyone else. I want to say give a huge shout out to Mrinal. I met Mrinal on LinkedIn. I don't remember how we met, how we connected, but it was very recently. And I think now you can't even see the date when you've connected with someone. I think they've removed that from contact info, unfortunately. So we can't even track that. If LinkedIn's listening, please
But
bring
I'm
that.
pretty sure it's a long time back, because I have been following your journey. And Nyna, I just want to pause you for a second and tell you that you have done a fabulous job so far, and I want to congratulate you on this Thought Leaders show. I'll be watching you on every live session for sure. I think you're doing a massive favor to the LinkedIn community in general, because I think we need more thought leaders and need more open discussions. I had a fabulous time here. So congratulations once again for being the inspiration that you always have been.
Thank you so much, Mrinal, and likewise to you. And we will continue to be in touch. Yes, this was my first. I'm doing a LinkedIn Live after a long time, and I forgot how to add the overlay. So this, you don't do something for a bit, you get rusty, because my background was supposed to be the whole LinkedIn Live overlay, and I forgot. So consistency has to be more, I guess. I'm confident, but I think if you're not consistent, then you can forget certain things along the way. So all right.
Yeah, that's a huge tip. That's always a tip for like every single creator. If you want to have like an active audience, just be consistent. That's the
Right.
only long game.
Yeah, just step out of your comfort zone and just put yourself out there and kick imposter syndrome to the curb. So you're not listening to that voice, and you're accepting compliments, and you're not hiding behind in the shadows. All right. Thank you all so much. Thanks, Mrinal. Bye, everyone. You can watch this on YouTube, on LinkedIn, and I believe it's also on Facebook in my Job Seekers and Careers group. All right.
Thank you so much, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye.